Hello there, and welcome to my live session on C++ pointers. We are going to talk about basic declaration and its usage with respect to the C++ programming language. So let's quickly move on to my screen. And primarily, this video is for those people who have fear for using the pointers and they are still not sure how exactly they can get started with the thing. So let me just pull out my VS Code and let me show you by using the code. So here it goes. Let me just write a small piece of code for you. Let me do a hash include IO stream, and then I should be writing uh, using name space std, and then void. I should not say void, it's int main. So the skeleton is done, return 0 right? So this is how you exactly write your skeleton code. Now let me just explain you how the pointers are being created. The pointers are being created by giving a reference to a particular data type. So let's say if I have some variable integer, let's say num, which is going to be some value 5 or some value 5, and then you wanted to have a reference to this particular variable. So let me just show you how exactly you can get the reference to this particular variable num. Let me write cout. Let me print the address of num variable, right? So when you are trying to write this particular thing, so I'm sure you guys have an idea about the cout statement. So here if I type num, this is going to print me the value for which is stored at the particular variable, which is 5, whereas instead I wanted to print the address or reference. So if I put up %, at the start of this particular variable, in that particular case it is going to give me the address of this particular variable where this particular variable has been allocated with the memory. So let me just execute this particular program just to see is it working fine. Okay, so you can see the address, the print the address of the variable, that is this 0x61ff0c. So in this particular case, if I go and try to print the value cout and print the value of num variable, in this particular case if I'm writing num over here, it is going to give me the values. So if I want to have it to be printed in the next line, I should write endl. So you can clearly see print the value, print the address of the variable as 0x61ff0c, where 0x61 is basically the segment address and ff0c is the memory address, or you can say the offset for that particular segment, whereas print the value of num variable is basically referring to this particular memory address, and it is getting the value printed directly on your screen. Now what if I wanted to use a pointer variable over here so that I should be able to do a referencing for this particular num variable? So pointer variable is nothing more than a simple variable. The only difference is that you are going to put a streak in front of it. So int, because the type of num is int, so I need to have a same type. I would write a streak ptr num. Okay, and if I want to allocate the value or reference to this particular variable, so I need to directly use this. So you can clearly see there are two operators which are involved in this particular pointer game. One is the streak and one is the %, which is basically a reference operator, and a streak is a dereference operator. So here if I try to have a cout statement, print the values stored at the ptr num variable. So in this particular case, what I'm going to do is ptr num and none. So you can see once I try to print the ptr, in this particular case this should give me the value of 0x61ff0c, right? So if I try to execute this particular program for you, you can see clearly over here that the address of the n% num, that means this line number 9 instruction, whatever the address is printing over here, the same address has been stored in ptr value. So you can simply say it as that whatever the reference of num is there is basically stored in the ptr num memory location. And why it was being stored into ptr num location? Because in this particular case we have created ptr num as a pointer variable. So when we create a pointer variable, the variable becomes eligible to store the address of a memory location, which can be related to an object in a C++ program, which can be related to a particular variable, or which can be related to some kind of heap memory location, provided the type of that particular memory address, the data which has been stored, is same or similar to the pointer data type, right? So in case if I want to print the value of num, in this particular case, what we have to do is we simply write cout, print the value stored at the address of ptr num variable. I would say print the value stored at the referenced address of the ptr num variable. So here, because if I wanted to redirect to a location of the particular variable to which this pointer variable is referencing, for that I'm going to use a dereferencing operator, that is a streak. And for this particular part, I will be writing over here is what? ptr num. Okay, so in this particular case, if I try to execute this, let me just have endl also. So if I execute it, you can clearly see that in a similar the output for this particular cout statement is similar to what is being printed by this pointer set. So the only difference is when we are using a pointer variable, we are basically omitting this kind of notation to be written frequently. We are just directly using the pointer name, and instead of writing the variable name, we are using a dereferencing operator along with my specific pointer variable name. So you can clearly see 0x61ff08, 0x61ff08, that the ptr num variable is storing, and the value of the num variable is basically 5, and this is also 5. Now what is the other status? Let's say if I try to change the value of this particular num variable to the ptr num. So what I will do is I'll do a streak ptr num equals to 8. So in this particular case, if I try to print the value of num variable after change, right? So here I'll type multiple endl. So I'm sure you are aware about what is the difference between endl and new line character. So endl is going to flush your buffer, whereas the new line is only going to have a new line on the particular buffer itself. So if I execute this particular program, you can clearly see after we change the value from 5 to 8, the value of the num variable is also changed. You can clearly see over here, we haven't used the dereferencing operator with the ptr num, but we have utilized the num variable directly, right? So for printing the value of the variable. So this clearly indicates that we are eligible to use the pointer variable, the reference, to change the value of the variable whose reference is stored in pointer variable. Okay, so this is how we can correlate. So this is what is the fundamental of our pointer variable. You are going to declare a pointer variable with this similar data type for which you are referencing for a particular identifier or variable. Then you can do a dereferencing by using a streak prefixed with your variable name, whereas instead if you are not prefixing the dereferencing operator with the pointer variable name, in that particular case it is going to print the address of the variable to which it is referring. Also, when using a dereferencing operator, you can basically uh, change the value of the variable to which the pointer variable is referencing to, right? So this is what is the basic of your pointer, and you can clearly see that how beautifully this particular concept has been provided through the C++ programming as well as the C programming. And this, if you understand this whole thing, you will be very well able to modulate the memory locations by use of the pointers in a dynamic manner, right? So this is what is there for this particular live video. I hope you guys like this particular video, and if you like it, please do hit the thumbs up button on the particular screen. It will really appreciate, and tell the algorithm to show this particular videos to the other users who may have the similar interest, and do subscribe and follow me on the LinkedIn platform. The link is given over here in the on the screen, right? So thank you very much for joining in. Hope you are going to have some value out of this particular session. Thanks a lot once again. See you in the next video. Bye bye.